Imagine waking up one day, realizing the cycle of dieting and disappointment is finally broken. Not through luck, but through science and wisdom. For years, the health narrative has been cluttered with quick fixes and temporary results, leaving millions feeling defeated. But what if the secret to truly sustainable weight loss isn't a secret at all? What if it's a series of evidence-based strategies vetted and recommended by the very doctors and researchers who understand the human body best? Hello, and welcome to Health Storytellers, the channel dedicated to bringing you the most powerful, evidence-based narratives in health and wellness. In this episode, we are diving deep into the science of sustainable weight loss, 5 proven strategies doctors recommend. Stay with us as we peel back the layers on myth versus reality and empower you with the knowledge to make this transformation your last. You owe it to yourself to hear this story. The human relationship with body weight is often a story of hope, followed by a particular flavor of heartbreak. It begins with a catalyst, a moment of poignant self-reflection in a changing room, a routine physician's visit where a number on a chart is circled with concern, the approach of a season or a milestone that carries with it an unspoken expectation. This moment crystallizes into a resolution, a firm and fervent declaration that this time will be different. Armed with renewed determination, one selects a path from the modern pantheon of weight loss solutions. The meticulous calculus of calorie counting, the macronutrient alchemy of a ketogenic protocol, the structured orthodoxy of a points-based system, the rhythmic discipline of intermittent fasting. The initial phase is characterized by a stark, almost monastic adherence. Foods are weighed, portions are measured, entire categories of sustenance are exiled. There is a tangible sense of conquest in the daily acts of refusal, a moral clarity in the gnawing sensation of hunger, which is reinterpreted not as a distress signal, but as a proof of progress. The scale, consulted with ritualistic regularity, becomes the sole arbiter of success. Its descending numbers provide a potent neurochemical reward, a direct line of validation that feels both personal and profound. Compliments are offered and received. Clothing begins to hang differently. A narrative of self-mastery and transformation solidifies. This period of linear success, however, contains within it the very seeds of its own undoing. The human body is not a passive receptacle for our intentions. It is a profoundly adaptive, homeostatic organism honed by millennia of evolution. It interprets a significant and sustained caloric deficit not as a voluntary pursuit of wellness, but as a credible threat to survival, a famine. In response, it deploys a sophisticated multi-system defense strategy. Metabolically, the body enters a state of conservation known as adaptive thermogenesis. The basal metabolic rate, the energy required to maintain basic physiological functions at rest, begins a deliberate decline. The body accomplishes the same work of breathing, circulating blood, and regulating temperature with increasingly less fuel, becoming a more efficient machine in direct opposition to the dieter's goal. Neurologically and endocrinologically, the shift is even more compelling. Levels of leptin, the hormone secreted by fat cells that signals satiety and sufficiency to the brain, plummet. Simultaneously, levels of ghrelin, the stomach-derived hormone that stimulates appetite, surge. The brain's reward centers, particularly the mesolimbic pathway, become hypersensitive to images and smells of high-calorie, palatable foods. These foods are perceived not merely as pleasure, but as a biological imperative for survival. The individual now experiences a state of pervasive biological dissonance. The conscious mind is committed to restriction, but the subconscious, ancient systems of the body are broadcasting powerful, primal signals to seek energy-dense nourishment. Willpower, a finite cognitive resource rooted in the prefrontal cortex, is pitted against a deeply ingrained survival instinct. It is a battle that human physiology is designed to lose. The breaking point is often not a dramatic lapse, but a slow erosion. A period of elevated stress at work, which elevates cortisol, a hormone that further encourages fat storage and appetite. A night of poor sleep, which impairs executive function and impulse control. A social obligation that makes the strict protocol feel isolating and impractical. A single planned cheat meal inadvertently triggers a psychological and physiological cascade. The consumption of previously forbidden foods can, for some, lead to a "what the hell" effect, the perception that the diet is already broken, so restraint may as well be abandoned entirely. The subsequent regain of weight is frequently misinterpreted as a simple failure of character, a lapse in discipline. This interpretation is not only unkind, but scientifically inaccurate. The weight is regained, often to a level slightly higher than the starting point, due to the persisting metabolic adaptations and the powerful hedonic drive that the period of restriction instigated. The body, now with a lower metabolic rate and a heightened drive to replenish lost energy stores, efficiently stores calories in anticipation of the next perceived famine. The dieter is left in a more vulnerable position than when they began, metabolically slower, hormonally primed for hunger, and psychologically burdened by the shame of a failed effort. This cyclical pattern, restrict, lose, rebound, regain, is not an anecdotal occurrence. It is a well-documented phenomenon in the medical literature, with studies indicating that a majority of individuals who lose weight through restrictive dieting will regain most or all of it within a 5-year period. Therefore, the critical realization, the pivotal turn in our narrative, is this: the repeated failure to maintain weight loss through conventional dieting is not a reflection of individual weakness. It is the predictable outcome of a flawed paradigm, a paradigm that mistakes the body for a simple input-output machine and ignores its dynamic, defensive, and intelligent nature. The very strategies employed, acute, severe restriction, trigger a coordinated biological backlash that ensures their eventual collapse. Understanding this is not an admission of defeat, but the first and most essential step toward liberation. It clears the ground, allowing us to move from a model of conflict and deprivation to one of collaboration and sustainable strategy. We cease fighting against our own physiology and begin the work of aligning with it, which is where the true science of sustainable change begins. If the paradigm of restrictive dieting is architecturally unsound, destined to collapse under the weight of our own biology, then we must become the architects of a new, more resilient structure. This begins not with a new meal plan or exercise regimen, but with a fundamental reassessment of the ground upon which we build and the mindset with which we build it. Our first two strategies are conceptual and internal, yet they are the most powerful determinants of long-term success. We must reframe our understanding of metabolism and cultivate a strategic, sustainable mindset. For decades, public conversation has treated metabolism as a singular, static entity, a fixed engine that runs either efficiently or sluggishly. This oversimplification leads to counterproductive judgments and fatalistic thinking. Modern endocrinology and metabolic science reveal a far more dynamic reality. Metabolism is not a thing, but a continuous, adaptive process. It is the sum total of all the biochemical reactions that sustain life, converting food into cellular energy, synthesizing and repairing tissues, regulating hormones, and maintaining core physiological functions. Your basal metabolic rate, BMR, the energy expended at complete rest, constitutes the largest component of your daily energy expenditure. Crucially, this rate is not fixed. It is a responsive calculation made by your body based on current conditions. When you subject your body to a significant caloric deficit, it does not passively consume its reserves. It actively adapts. It downregulates non-essential processes. You may feel colder, your hair and nails may grow more slowly, and yes, your BMR decreases. It becomes exquisitely efficient. This is adaptive thermogenesis, a brilliant survival mechanism, not a personal betrayal. Therefore, the primary strategic shift is to move from a goal of calorie restriction to one of metabolic optimization. The question transforms from how little can I eat to what does my metabolism need to function at its most robust and responsive level. This shifts our actions profoundly. Instead of minimizing intake, we focus on supporting metabolic health through nutrient sufficiency, hormonal balance, and the preservation of metabolically active tissue. We recognize that severe restriction is metabolically counterproductive. We begin to prioritize adequate protein intake, not merely for satiety, but for its high thermic effect of food, the energy required to digest it, and its role in preserving lean muscle mass, which is a primary driver of BMR. We understand that consistent, balanced nourishment signals safety to the body, helping to maintain a healthier hormonal profile and a more stable metabolic rate. In essence, we stop treating our metabolism as an adversary to be subdued and start treating it as a vital partner to be supported. This partnership requires a parallel shift in psychology. The second foundational strategy is the deliberate cultivation of an architect's mindset, which must replace the pervasive diet mentality. The diet mentality is characterized by rigidity, externality, and a punitive, short-term orientation. It operates in binaries. Foods are good or bad. Days are on plan or off the wagon. Authority is ceded to an external set of rules, which creates a fragile structure. Compliance brings euphoria. Deviation brings disproportionate guilt and self-recrimination. This mindset is inherently stressful, triggering the very cortisol responses that hinder progress, and it is unsustainable because it is fundamentally at odds with the complexity and variability of human life. The architect's mindset, in contrast, is built on flexibility, curiosity, self-compassion, and a long-term vision. You are the designer and the builder. External rules are replaced by internal principles grounded in biological science. The focus shifts from arbitrary restriction to strategic construction. This mindset embraces the concept of cognitive reframing, a psychological technique where you consciously choose to interpret events and choices through a more empowering and accurate lens. Instead of the diet mentality's thought, "I can't eat that, it's bad," the architect thinks, "I am choosing not to eat that right now because it doesn't align with my goal of feeling energized and supporting my metabolic health." A piece of cake at a celebration is not a cheat that ruins everything. It is a conscious, socially integrated choice, enjoyed without guilt, after which one simply returns to foundational principles at the next meal. A missed workout is not a failure of character. It is a data point that prompts the question, what prevented me today, and how can I adjust my schedule or expectations to support consistency? Central to this mindset is the practice of non-judgmental awareness. It involves observing your behaviors, cravings, and outcomes with curiosity rather than condemnation. I notice I crave sugary snacks at 3 p.m. when my energy dips. What is contributing to that dip? Could it be my lunch composition, my sleep quality, or my stress level? This approach generates valuable, actionable data instead of destructive shame. It builds resilience, as setbacks are seen not as catastrophes, but as inevitable and informative parts of the learning process. When we combine a scientifically accurate view of our adaptive metabolism with the empowered, flexible, and compassionate architect's mindset, we establish a foundation that is unshakable. We are no longer in a desperate, short-term battle against our own bodies. We are engaged in the long-term, respectful project of stewarding our health. With this stable foundation in place, we can now turn our attention to the tangible, practical pillars of nutrition and movement, approaching them not as arenas of punishment, but as powerful tools for building a vibrant and sustainable life. With a foundation of metabolic understanding and an architect's mindset firmly in place, we now turn to the tangible, daily practices that will shape our health. These are not temporary measures, but enduring pillars. The third and fourth strategies involve a fundamental reimagining of our relationship with food and physical activity, moving from paradigms of deprivation and obligation to those of strategic nourishment and joyful engagement. Strategy 3, nutritional prioritization, the principle of nutrient density. Conventional dieting often begins with subtraction. Remove entire food groups, slash calories, eliminate sugars and fats. This approach, as we have established, triggers biological and psychological resistance. A more sustainable and scientifically sound strategy is one of intelligent addition and prioritization. The core principle is this: focus on maximizing the nutrient density of your diet. Nutrient density refers to the ratio of beneficial nutrients, vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, fiber, and high-quality protein to the total caloric content of a food. Consider two hypothetical meals with identical calorie counts. One is a processed snack bar. The other is a plate of grilled salmon, quinoa, and roasted broccoli. While the calories are equal, the physiological impact is vastly different. The snack bar, typically high in refined sugars, unhealthy fats, and sodium, but low in micronutrients and fiber, provides empty calories. It is digested rapidly, causing a sharp spike in blood sugar and insulin, offers minimal satiety, and leaves the body undernourished at a cellular level. The salmon meal, in contrast, delivers a symphony of nourishment. The protein and healthy fats promote profound satiety and stable energy. The fiber from the vegetables and quinoa slows digestion, further moderating blood sugar response and feeding a healthy gut microbiome. The array of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants supports countless metabolic processes, reduces systemic inflammation, and provides the raw materials for cellular repair and hormone production. This meal sends a signal of abundance and sufficiency to the body, supporting the metabolic optimization we discussed earlier. The practical application of this principle is elegantly simple. Construct your meals around a core of whole, minimally processed foods. A powerful and flexible heuristic is to visualize your plate with intentional proportions. Half the plate filled with non-starchy vegetables and fruits. This ensures a high volume of fiber, water, and micronutrients with relatively low caloric density, promoting fullness and health. Color variety is a proxy for phytonutrient diversity. A quarter of the plate dedicated to a high-quality protein source, such as lean poultry, fish, eggs, legumes, or tofu. Adequate protein is non-negotiable for preserving lean muscle mass during weight loss, boosting satiety through hormonal pathways, like increasing peptide YY, and leveraging the thermic effect of food. A quarter of the plate comprising complex carbohydrates or additional healthy fats. Options like whole grains, brown rice, quinoa, oats, starchy vegetables, sweet potatoes, or additional portions of healthy fats from sources like avocado, nuts, seeds, or olive oil. These provide sustained energy, further fiber, and essential fatty acids. This framework is not a rigid prescription, but a guiding principle for making consistently better choices. It shifts the internal dialogue from "what am I not allowed to eat" to "how can I nourish my body effectively with this meal?" It transforms eating from an act of potential transgression to an act of deliberate self-care and metabolic support. Strategy 4. Purposeful physical activity. From exercise to everyday movement. The cultural narrative around exercise for weight loss is overwhelmingly focused on one metric: calorie burn. This has led to a mentality of earning food through punishing gym sessions and viewing movement as a penitent chore. This perspective is not only joyless, but also myopic from a physiological standpoint. Our fourth strategy expands this narrow view into a holistic philosophy of purposeful physical activity, where the primary goal is to build a resilient, capable, and energetic body with weight management as a natural byproduct. This philosophy has two critical, interconnected components. The first, and arguably most important for sustainable metabolism, is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT. NEAT encompasses all the energy expended for everything we do that is not sleeping, eating, or structured exercise. This includes walking, fidgeting, gardening, taking the stairs, and even maintaining posture. Research reveals that NEAT can vary by up to 2,000 calories per day between individuals with similar sedentary jobs, and it is a key variable that the body modulates unconsciously during periods of over or underfeeding. Strategically, this means that cultivating a habit of low-grade, consistent movement throughout the day is paramount. It involves breaking up prolonged sitting, choosing active transportation when possible, and finding small ways to incorporate movement into daily rituals. The goal is to make your environment and lifestyle inherently more active, thereby raising your daily energy expenditure in a sustainable, effortless manner. The second component is purposeful, structured exercise, but with a reframed intention. The objective is not merely to create a caloric deficit, but to positively alter the body's composition and functional capacity. Strength or resistance training, 2 to 3 times per week. This is the most potent tool for metabolic enhancement. Muscle tissue is metabolically active. It requires energy, calories, simply to exist. By engaging in progressive resistance training, using body weight, free weights, or resistance bands, you stimulate the maintenance and growth of lean muscle mass. This gently elevates your basal metabolic rate over time, creating a body that burns more calories at rest. Furthermore, strength training improves insulin sensitivity, enhances bone density, and builds functional resilience for daily life. Cardiovascular or aerobic exercise. The strategic approach here is to prioritize consistency and enjoyment over extreme intensity. The best form of cardiovascular exercise is the one you will perform regularly without dread. This could be brisk walking, cycling, swimming, dancing, or hiking. The benefits extend far beyond the calories burned during the activity. They include improved cardiovascular health, enhanced mood through endorphin and endocannabinoid release, better stress resilience, and improved sleep quality. When nutrition is approached as strategic nourishment and movement is embraced as joyful, purposeful engagement, these pillars cease to be external impositions. They become intrinsic expressions of the architect's mindset, ways of building and inhabiting a stronger, more vibrant physical self. They are sustainable because they are inherently rewarding, not just in their long-term outcomes, but in the quality of each day they help to create. The edifice of sustainable health, built upon a foundation of mindset and supported by the pillars of nutrition and movement, does not exist in isolation. It is situated within a personal ecosystem, a dynamic environment of invisible forces and relational connections that exert a profound, often underappreciated influence on physiological outcomes. To ignore this ecosystem is to build on shifting sands. Our fifth strategy, therefore, addresses these critical environmental factors: the non-negotiable necessity of restorative sleep, the manageable reality of chronic stress, and the powerful influence of our social world. These are the unsung heroes of metabolic health, and mastering them is essential for protecting and perpetuating the progress we make. Sleep, the foundational metabolic reset. In the pursuit of health, sleep is frequently sacrificed on the altar of productivity or entertainment, viewed as a flexible commodity rather than a biological imperative. This is a catastrophic strategic error. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of high-quality, uninterrupted sleep per night is arguably the single most effective metabolic intervention available. Sleep is not a state of passive rest. It is a period of intense physiological activity and regulation. During deep, slow-wave sleep, the body engages in critical repair processes and, most importantly, recalibrates the hormonal milieu that governs appetite, satiety, and metabolism. Two key hormones are exquisitely sensitive to sleep duration and quality: leptin and ghrelin. Leptin, secreted by adipose tissue, signals fullness to the brain. Ghrelin, produced in the stomach, stimulates hunger. Sufficient sleep maintains an optimal balance. Leptin levels are robust and ghrelin levels are suppressed. Sleep deprivation, even a single night of shortened sleep, disrupts this balance dramatically. Leptin levels drop, while ghrelin levels surge, creating a powerful biological drive to consume more calories, particularly from carbohydrate-rich and energy-dense foods. Furthermore, sleep loss elevates cortisol levels, particularly in the afternoon and evening, which can promote gluconeogenesis and fat storage, especially in the visceral region. It also induces a state of physiological stress and inflammation. Perhaps most critically for self-regulation, sleep deprivation impairs the function of the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for executive functions such as impulse control, decision-making, and emotional regulation. The result is a perfect storm, a body hormonally primed for increased caloric intake, combined with a brain whose capacity for mindful resistance is significantly diminished. Thus, a consistent sleep schedule, a cool, dark sleeping environment, and a pre-bedtime routine free from blue light are not mere sleep hygiene tips. They are non-negotiable strategic protocols for weight management and overall health. Stress, managing the cortisol cascade. While acute stress is a normal and adaptive response, chronic psychological stress, the persistent feeling of being overwhelmed, anxious, or unsafe, places the body in a sustained state of low-grade alarm. This state is mediated by the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal (HPA) axis and results in chronically elevated levels of cortisol. Elevated cortisol has several direct and counterproductive effects on weight regulation. It stimulates the breakdown of muscle protein for energy, undermining the metabolic benefits of strength training. It promotes the storage of fat, particularly in the abdominal viscera, an area linked to higher cardiometabolic risk. Cortisol also influences food preference, increasing cravings for highly palatable, sugary, and fatty comfort foods, as these foods can temporarily dampen the stress response in the brain. Finally, chronic stress erodes the very self-regulation and willpower needed to maintain healthy habits. Therefore, stress management is not a luxury pursuit for a state of enlightenment. It is a practical, daily metabolic strategy. The goal is not to eliminate stress, but to build resilience and downregulate the HPA axis through consistent, evidence-based practices. This involves integrating stress reduction micro practices into daily life. Techniques such as diaphragmatic breathing, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system, a daily 10-minute mindfulness meditation to cultivate non-reactive awareness, regular immersion in nature, or engaging in a non-digital hobby can significantly lower cortisol levels over time. By actively managing stress, we create a physiological environment that is conducive to hormonal balance, rational food choices, and the effective utilization of the energy we consume. The social sphere, curating your environment of influence. Human beings are inherently social creatures, and our health behaviors are profoundly contagious. The norms, habits, and attitudes of our social networks shape our own through mechanisms of social reinforcement, shared identity, and direct modeling. This phenomenon, well documented in public health research, means that our social environment can be either a powerful catalyst for change or a significant headwind against it. The strategic approach, therefore, is to move from passive inhabitation to active curation of your social ecosystem. This begins with awareness. Assess which relationships in your life are supportive of your health goals and which are unconsciously obstructive. Support does not require shared goals, but rather respect and encouragement. The next step is to proactively seek and nurture connections that provide positive influence. This could involve joining a walking group, participating in a cooking class focused on whole foods, or engaging with an online community dedicated to sustainable health practices, such as this one. Simultaneously, it involves graceful, proactive communication within existing relationships. This is not about issuing ultimatums, but about framing your needs in a positive, inclusive way. For example, suggesting, "I'd love to catch up. Would you be open to trying that new hiking trail this weekend instead of getting brunch?" Or, "I'm really focusing on cooking more at home. Would you like to come over and we can make dinner together?" By shaping your social environment to be more congruent with your health architecture, you reduce the cognitive and emotional friction of maintaining new habits. You create a world where healthy choices feel easier, more normalized, and socially rewarded. By mastering these three elements, securing restorative sleep, implementing daily stress resilience practices, and consciously shaping a supportive social environment, you fortify the entire structure of your sustainable health plan. You move from simply implementing good habits in a vacuum to creating a holistic ecosystem in which those habits can not only survive, but thrive. This integrated approach ensures that your journey is supported not just by what you do, but by the very context of your life. We have journeyed through the 5 evidence-based strategies, the foundational recalibration of metabolism and mindset, the twin pillars of nutrient-dense nutrition and purposeful, joyful movement, and the essential ecosystem management of sleep, stress, and social connection. Now we arrive at the most critical juncture of all, the point of synthesis and personalized application. This is where abstract science transforms into lived reality. The final, overarching strategy is not a 6th action item, but the meta-strategy of implementation. The art and science of weaving these discrete threads into the unique tapestry of your life in a way that is not only effective, but truly sustainable. A common and formidable error at this stage is the temptation of wholesale, simultaneous overhaul, the Monday morning revolution. Inspired by new knowledge, one might resolve to immediately adopt a perfect diet, a rigorous 6-day workout regimen, a strict 10 p.m. bedtime, and daily meditation, all while overhauling their social calendar. This approach, however, is merely the old diet mentality in a new disguise. It is characterized by the same rigidity, the same unsustainable intensity, and it is almost guaranteed to trigger the same cycle of overwhelm, exhaustion, and eventual abandonment. It fails to respect the finite nature of human cognitive bandwidth and willpower. The science of sustainable change stands in direct opposition to this philosophy. It champions the principle of marginal gains and sequential mastery. It recognizes that profound, lasting transformation is not the product of a single seismic shift, but the cumulative result of small, intelligently sequenced, consistently practiced adjustments that compound over time. The goal is not to implement 5 perfect strategies at once, but to master one small aspect of one strategy so thoroughly that it becomes an automatic, effortless component of your identity, a true habit. Only then do you layer on the next marginal gain. Therefore, your first action as the architect of your health is to engage in a deliberate and compassionate assessment. Set aside the 5 strategies as a monolithic list. Instead, view them as a palette of potential. Ask yourself with genuine curiosity, considering my current life circumstances, my energy levels, my responsibilities, and my psychological readiness, which one small specific change from these principles feels most accessible to me? Accessibility is the key metric here, not perceived importance or speed of results. Perhaps you begin with sleep. Your initial project is not 9 perfect hours, but simply to institute a consistent digital sunset, turning off all screens 60 minutes before your target bedtime, and committing to it for the next 3 weeks. You master this one ritual. Maybe you start with mindset. Your sole focus for 1 month is to practice cognitive reframing once per day, consciously transforming one instance of negative self-talk into a neutral or compassionate observation. Or perhaps you choose nutrition. Your first building block is the simple, non-negotiable habit of incorporating a serving of vegetables into your breakfast every single day for the next month. The objective is mastery and consistency over this single chosen element. You are not trying to get more sleep. You are becoming a person who protects their wind-down routine. You are not attempting to eat better. You are becoming a person who always includes plants at breakfast. This shift in identity, from someone who performs behaviors to someone who embodies them, is the psychological bedrock of permanence. It rewires neural pathways from those of effortful restraint to those of automatic self-concept. Once this first habit is firmly anchored, when it requires minimal conscious effort or decision-making, you then, and only then, survey your mosaic and ask, what is the next logical, manageable piece to add? The improved sleep from your first habit may now give you the energy to address movement. You layer on a 15-minute walk after lunch on 3 weekdays. This new habit, built upon a solid foundation, is more easily adopted. Success breeds success, building what psychologists call self-efficacy, the confident belief in your own ability to execute and maintain behaviors. This iterative, sequential approach inherently accommodates the nonlinear reality of life. There will be plateaus in weight, periods of stagnation where the body is recalibrating. There will be life events, travel, illness, family demands, professional deadlines that disrupt your most carefully laid plans. The architect's mindset is crucial here. These are not failures. They are stress tests of your system and rich sources of data. The question during such times is not, how do I stick perfectly to all 5 strategies? But rather, how do I protect my core foundation during this storm? This is known as the maintenance mode strategy. Perhaps you temporarily scale back ambitious exercise goals, but double down on your sleep routine and mindful eating principles. Maybe you allow social engagements to take precedence, but maintain your vegetable-focused plate construction. You learn the skill of flexible adherence, bending without breaking. Ultimately, sustainable weight loss is not a destination marked by a specific number on a scale. It is a directional movement, a trajectory of health. It is the progressive accumulation of evidence that you can trust yourself to care for your own well-being. The scale becomes one metric among many. Others include your energy levels, the fit of your clothes, your strength, your sleep quality, your emotional resilience, and your blood work. It provides data, not judgment. You are not following a map drawn by an external authority. You are using the proven, scientific principles of metabolic health, behavioral psychology, and holistic medicine to draft your personal blueprint. This blueprint is dynamic, evolving as you learn what works uniquely for your body, your psychology, and your life. The story of your health is no longer a repetitive cycle of hope and heartbreak. It becomes a narrative of gradual, self-directed mastery. A mosaic-crafted piece by deliberate piece, resulting in a picture of vitality that is enduring, resilient, and authentically your own. We have explored the broken paradigm and the 5 proven strategies to move beyond it. Reframe metabolism and mindset. Prioritize nutrient density. Embrace joyful movement. And master your ecosystem of sleep, stress, and social connection. Remember, this is not a race. It is the gentle, intentional art of becoming the architect of your own well-being. If this narrative resonated with you, if it felt like a kinder, more sustainable path, then you are already part of our community. You are a health storyteller. Thank you for listening. If you found value in this story, please give this video a thumbs up. It helps us reach more seekers like you. Share your thoughts, your own small victories, or the strategy you're starting with in the comments below. Our community grows through shared experience. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to Health Storytellers and clicking the bell icon. We are here every week to explore another facet of your health journey through the power of story. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and remember, you are the author.